Hi there, this is Jason Eagle, your natural health expert for strategic healing with another Feature Friday today. Today we're going to talk about fat metabolism. So fat metabolism, what is fat metabolism? Well, there's three things that we eat that we get fuel from. One would be carbohydrates, which is sugar. There's simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. There's protein, and then there's fat, okay? Now, fat is our primary source of energy. In fact, that's why we store it so easily. Because if we ever need energy and we ate food and didn't eat enough food and we're exercising or something like that and we're running out of energy, our body then says, oh, look, there's some energy, and it breaks open a fat molecule and then releases glucose out of that and ketones. So fat is actually a primary source of energy. However, we have to have an emulsifier for fat, okay? So if we all remember mixing water and oil, right? If you've got a glass of water, right, and you pour some oil on it, what happens? The oil just sits on top. It just sits there because oil and water don't mix, right? But if you remember that old Dawn commercial, they put that little drop of soap into it and now it makes oil and water mix. Now, our body has a mechanism, and that is the gallbladder. The gallbladder, which is bile, is made in the liver and then stored in the gallbladder. When we eat food, it goes into our mouth, then it goes into our stomach. If there's any oil or any fat in it, it sends a signal to the gallbladder to squirt some soap into it and mix it together. And now we have oil and water mixed together, which then means so that the fat molecule then turns into a smaller molecule and it can get absorbed into the system, it can get absorbed into the small intestine, and also once it gets into the small intestine, then it gets smaller and smaller, then it can get absorbed into the cells, the bloodstream, into all of our cells. Now, there's two different types of, you've probably all heard this, is two different types of nutrients that our body takes in. There's vitamins and minerals, and there are things that are water soluble, and we are the same as the planet Earth, about 70+% water, mostly water, okay? So there's water soluble, and then there's fat soluble. What water soluble means is that if it's a nutrient and if it gets dissolved into water, then it goes into the cells. Basically like an envelope. If you want to put a letter into an envelope, right, you want it to go to the right place, has to go into the right envelope. So water soluble have to go into water. Now, that's easy. That's not a problem. Now, fat soluble, which is hormones and all kinds of other nutrients, they are what's called fat soluble, meaning those nutrients have to go into a fat packet, right, in order to get delivered to our system. So that means that we have to have the fat molecule being turned into a smaller molecule. It has to have an emulsifier. So what are some of the symptoms of bad fat metabolism? Overweight. The people that, we all heard this, like a lot of women hear this, which is they're overweight and all of their girlfriends say, I don't understand, like I sat and ate with you, like I ate 3 hamburgers and I'm this, and you ate half of a salad and you're like this, and I've been around you all the time, like you hardly eat and yet you still put on weight. That's a real good example of a bad fat metabolism, meaning you can't metabolize fat. So it first comes from because, first of all, your gallbladder is all jammed up. So there's a bunch of things that we do to try and emulsify the fats and clear the gallbladder out so that the gallbladder is unjammed, okay? Well, it can take a long time to do that. In the meantime, you're suffering. You're suffering from bad digestion. People with bad fat metabolism, when they eat fatty foods, they get burpy, they get belchy. They feel like they got a lead weight here, and it's very much like this. You got oil that's sitting on top as it goes through, and it doesn't absorb. And people who have bad fat metabolism constantly have floater poops, meaning you poop in the toilet and it floats up to the top, or you got, so that's fat, because fat So that means it's not absorbed through your system. People who constantly get to like 3 p.m. or something like that and they're just exhausted. You're not getting energy from fat. People who don't have a whole lot of endurance, they're not getting energy from fat. People who have bad hormones. So rather than first and foremost look at fixing the hormone organs, it's not necessarily the factory, it's the delivery system. So you can have a great factory that produces all these widgets, but if they don't get to the place where they're supposed to go to, it's either the broken factory or it's the broken transport system. It's the trucks that are not working. So most often it's actually a bad fat metabolism. So we spend time working on the gallbladder and stuff, but in the meantime, God, I need to feel better. So what can I do? Well, what we can do is we can immediately take a couple different things. One is limonene. Limonene is this organic orange oil, and it's, you know, it's furniture polish, right? Think about it, furniture polish, like the lemon wax type of thing. It breaks down the oil because it has lemon in it. Well, orange oil is exactly that. So you take a couple drops into about 8-ounce glass of water and you drink it with your meals. And so rather than depending upon your gallbladder to squirt the bile in to mix so that the water and the oil mix together, if that system's broken, what you do is you combine the limonene with the food. So now it takes the job of what the gallbladder would be doing and say, you know, you don't need to do it, I've got this, which gives a chance for the gallbladder to heal. So it's like a plumber who's trying to fix a drain while you're using the drain. Like, you know, you got to stop using it for a while so I can get it fixed. So the limonene gives us a chance to actually digest the fat because it's like mixing the soap into the food so that with the food, so that it immediately goes into the system. And then there's another thing that we can take, which is called lecithin. Lecithin it's an emulsifier. Lecithin is one of these things that when you put it in with, like when you're making mayonnaise, that's why egg yolks make mayonnaise, because they have an emulsifier. They are an emulsifier that breaks itself down. So in the meantime, while we're healing the gallbladder, what we do is if you're eating anything that has fat in it or taking any supplements that have fat and oil in it, I recommend taking it with a couple drops of limonene into some water. If you're having a real fatty meal, it's about 3 drops. If you're having a regular fatty meal or regular, you know, an avocado is fat, walnuts are fat. There's fat in things that most people don't think about, right? And so you're not getting energy from it if you can't metabolize it. It just passes right through you. And then the lecithin is another good thing. You can add it in smoothies. Ideally, you take about 1 tablespoon 2 times a day, blend it into some foods or whatever. That's a second step of adding an emulsifier to get the fat to start to dissolve and go into the system. So these are 2 great tricks that give a chance for the gallbladder to heal, but immediately now you're digesting fat. So these are some tricks. Remember it. Okay, till next time. Bye-bye.